So originally I was going to talk about DMC3, because of the 3 DMC games for the PlayStation 2, that was the one I liked. Or so I thought, as when recording footage for the video, I really wasn't feeling it. It's not that I think the game is bad, I do think it's very good, has some cool concepts to it, and the action can get really entertaining. It's just, I don't know, the level design and certain aspects of the combat just really weren't doing it for me. I suppose it's just not the game for me. Now, instead of doing a video about a game I'm not that into, I decided I would change things up and talk about 2 games I do like, but don't have a whole lot to say. Onimusha 1 and 2, which coincidentally, the first Onimusha is actually kind of important to the origins of the original Devil May Cry. From what I understand, ideas for this game originated with a Yoshiki Okamoto, hopefully I pronounced that right, who basically wanted to make a Resident Evil game that took place in the Sengoku period, featuring ninjas and sword fights versus secret agents and shootouts. Development for such a title started off on the PlayStation. However, about halfway through, the PlayStation 2 was already on its way, and the team was more interested in developing the game on a system with more powerful hardware. Thus, Onimusha was born. Kinda. With all that being said, what is it that I like about these 2 games? First off, let's talk about the plot setup to the first Onimusha, and I'm going to keep this simple, which will be easy to do actually. We follow a samurai named Somonosuke, and his ninja friend Kirei, as he receives a letter from Princess Yuki, who asks for his help as she worries that demons, known as the Genma, have been kidnapping her servants. They set out for her castle only to find that they are too late, as the Genma run off with Yuki. During all of this, Somonosuke is visited by some Oni who grant him a special gauntlet that will aid him in defeating the Genma and saving the princess. That's about it. You get a little backstory and setting for the game's events, and hints of a greater evil afoot. For whatever reason, when I first played this game, I seem to have really liked Somonosuke's character. And he's not bad, he's a respectable, noble kind of guy. But on my latest replay, that's really all I got out of him. Honestly though, that's okay, cause I still like Somonosuke and Kirei. They're decent, likable characters. You get to see some neat Genma who antagonize our leads, with my favorite being Guildenstern. Overall, it's a simple, charming, easy to follow story that works well for a short game. Yeah, so like I kinda mentioned a while ago, I had recently played this game, and I have to say, I still like it. First off, this does feel like it was inspired from Resident Evil. We have fixed camera angles, tank controls, and many of the backgrounds and environments are pre-rendered, and look really good even today, with some impressive use of lighting at times. Combat is where things really differentiate. Instead of guns, you're using swords, which have a slight auto-targeting to them, like Somonosuke is drawn to the enemies when fighting. You can guard, or something that I forgot about through a majority of my playthrough, is that you can take this battle stance, which is great for quick dodges. When timing your strikes just before an enemy attacks you, this special insta-kill move occurs, and they feel great to pull off. Most of your time will be spent fighting off enemies, but you'll need to be navigating your way around the castle, finding keys, solving some puzzles, and checking locations you haven't been to before. The puzzles really aren't that hard to figure out. Just as long as you're observant of your surroundings and check your map often, you'll know what to do. Some doors will be blocked off with these weird orbs, which mean you need a weapons element at a certain level in order to pass. You see, as you progress through the game, you'll get these new weapons that each feel a bit different, like the two-ended staff-like weapon and this fire sword, which from my experience seems to do the best damage. These weapons also have special attacks that are great for bosses and larger foes, so it's best to use them wisely since these attacks cost mana. Weapons can be upgraded by collecting souls. There are 3 different kinds of souls. Yellow souls will heal you, blue souls give you mana, and red souls are used for upgrading weapons and herbs at save points. Though be wary of these floating eye sac a-holes who will try to run off with your souls from defeated enemies. I hate these guys so much. So because of those doors with the orbs on them, some grinding to level up weapons elements is required, which can be a bit tedious and pace breaking. At the same time, upgrading your stuff feels great, and the game isn't very long. My latest playthrough only lasted about 3.5 hours. Sure, there is a special demon well to fight at, which can net you plenty of souls and even some special items, but I don't often touch it. From time to time, you get to play as Kide, and while these moments are brief, I do enjoy them as she feels a bit faster and more agile. After beating the game, you'll be ranked and can unlock new costumes or even a different mode, which helps add some replayability. Now, what does Onimusha 2 do differently? Well, for starters, we have a different lead character, this time being Jubei. Basically, Nobunaga Oda destroys his village and kills pretty much everyone, and now Oda has become the king of the demons, who he has unleashed onto the country. After Jubei learns of what had happened, he sets out to kill Oda as revenge for his village. Along the way, he learns of a secret to his lineage and the powers that come with that, as well as meeting a few other warriors who help aid him in his adventure while confronting demons under Oda's rule. Can't say I really care much about Jubei. I just find that he doesn't have a very pronounced personality, so he feels quite bland to me. I'm also not a fan of most of the demon leaders you will meet. The only good demon is Gogodantes, as he is full of personality and is very much an entertaining character and at least interesting to me. The other warriors Jubei meets aren't too bad either. I don't care for Ike, or however you pronounce his name again, but Magoichi, Kotaro, and Oyu are much more likable and interesting allies. For the most part, the story isn't too bad. It's simple and straightforward and has some nice character moments from time to time. Gameplay wise, it's still very much like that of the first game. We have tank controls, weapon-based combat for fighting off enemies, and you'll need to solve some simple puzzles and collect items for progression. But really, that's just the basics, as Onimusha 2 adds quite a few new things, and makes some interesting changes. First off, not only do you still earn new weapons and have magic powers with them that can be upgraded with souls, but you can also use souls to upgrade armor. In addition to that, the variety of weapons this time around is a little bigger, including a spear and a hammer. There is a new purple type of soul to try and absorb. If you have enough of these, you'll transform into the Onimusha, a super powerful demon form that I honestly don't ever often use, mostly because it's not easy to control when you get to use it. This time around, you aren't spending all your time within and around a single location. Instead, you will visit some extra places, like a village ruin, a forest, and even an island for demons. Once again, these locations look great with a rich sense of detail and good colors that really help absorb you into the game. While the combat in this game still feels good and has a few nice touches, like I don't remember there being a charge attack in the first game. It's really nice for breaking an enemy's guard, so keep that in mind. I'm not a huge fan of certain bosses, in fact, most of them in this game. My biggest issue with these bosses has to do with the fixed camera, as angles you get really don't give you a good view of each area that you're fighting, unlike the first game, where at least you got a very good sense of what was around you. This one, I don't get that feeling, and it's quite annoying. A feature to this game that I really like is its gift system. So throughout your journey, you'll find some random items like cooked dishes, telescopes, or maybe even a parrot. With these items, you can give them to one of the other warriors, who may give you useful items in return if they like the gift. To be honest, it's not always easy to know who will like what, but befriending them is a good idea as they can aid you later on in the game. Because of this, events can occur differently in multiple playthroughs depending on who you ally with. To add to that, there will even be moments when you'll get to play as one of them instead, which can be fun. So it's a good idea to give characters weapons and armor exclusive to them in case you end up playing as, say, Magoichi. Like I said, a feature like this helps encourage multiple playthroughs, so after beating the game, it will show you which acts you've unlocked and what kind of other acts can occur at the same point in the game, which I think is not only helpful, but also just really neat. There are a few extra game modes and features that can be unlocked as well for some added fun. There we go, 2 games that while I don't love a whole lot, I do still really enjoy and have gone back to play a couple times. Getting different weapons, solving these puzzles even if they are usually simple, Upgrading my equipment and taking on some of these demons are things that I find appealing within these two titles. I would definitely recommend giving these games a try if anything here looked fun to you, especially since these games usually come cheap. I do know there was recently an HD re-release of the original game, which surprised me, as for those of you who might be curious as to why we haven't seen more Onimusha games, well, a part of that might have to do with because the lead characters Somonosuke and Jubei were based off of Japanese actors, which may have led to some legal issues for future re-releases, as well as the fact that the games were originally planned to be a trilogy. Anyway, we'll be finishing things off next time when we take a look at Onimusha 3, as that's a game I have enough to say for its own video.